What is seller financing? You don't hear that phrase too often, but over the last 33 years, sometimes it can be a real benefit to the buyer and seller. What it basically means is, depending on how you structure the transaction, a seller can be the bank for you as a buyer. We had a sale about 8 years ago. Friends of mine that owned the property for about 25 years had a pretty substantial capital gain, meaning they had bought the property maybe for a couple $1,000,000, were selling it for almost $7 million, and they owned it free and clear. So we had suggested to the buyer, hey, why don't we have the seller carry back the first deed of trust, so being the bank on the loan. And it was a great option for my seller because what happens is, if they just sold the house for $7 million and they close escrow, they have to pay capital gains tax on that $7 million right then and there, right? Whatever that gain is. But in this particular case, we sold it for $7 million. The buyers put 20% down, and the sellers carried the first trust deed of 80% for a period of 2 years, interest only. And at that time, interest rates were about 6.25%, 6.5%. So it was great for my seller because they were getting basically, I think, $12,000 or $15,000 a month, just simply interest on the loan, which was paid off in 2 years as a balloon payment, the full balance. But they got interest on the loan for 2 years, which was a nice little extra income. And they were able to defer their capital gains tax until the loan was paid off a couple of years later. So seller financing is more common today than it was before, but it's a great option. You will pay as a buyer a little bit higher interest rate than you would with a bank on a first trust deed. On a second trust deed, even more so. I don't necessarily recommend seller financing as a second trust deed because you're in second position, so it's a little bit riskier. If it's an upward market, it's a little bit safer. If it's a downward market, a little bit more risk. But seller financing is certainly an option. If you've never heard about it before as a seller or buyer, talk to your broker because it could be a great option for you to save money on taxes and get a nice little income in the interim.